It's because I cover them in WD-40.
Oscar Wilde once said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." Maybe that's the reason I enjoy riding in biker rallies so much. A place where individuality is not only accepted, it's actually celebrated. Freedom and serenity only found when you leave behind the monotony of conformity and the mundane. This was our first visit to the Trip Out, an annual rally held on the Suffolk and Norfolk borders, a stone throw from Thetford. Having checked the weather forecast obsessively, we chanced leaving the waterproofs in the bags, and as usual we were wrong, and the 10% chance of so-called light rain found us easily. It was a shame, as I deliberately picked a route that took us to 50 miles without the dreariness of motorways, and the sheer beauty and ruralness of the route was somehow marred by the relentless drizzle. But eventually we arrived. The Trip Out is held in the vast expanse of Euston Hall, land which I am told is owned by a cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, who had tragically passed away only the day before. In fact, there was a suggestion the rally would be postponed, but happily it wasn't.
Honestly, she's the only dry one anyway out of us all. See that? Where did you put my phone, sorry?
Okay.
Oh, you got it. Stay there a minute. Stay.
Do you have somewhere we could get some water? Like
Yes, there's standpipes.
Ah,
there
brilliant,
is.
perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Not that we've seen enough coming up like that.
Are you bike only camping?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so that's down there.
Yeah.
On the right, you'll see the bunting.
Yeah.
And there should be a standpipe
That's
next to the
yeah.
toilets.
Brilliant.
Lovely,
Thanks.
Do you,
The trees, or you go over there.
Now, a word of warning about the Trip Out. The bike rallies we usually attend average about £15 to £25 for a weekend ticket, and that includes camping. The Trip Out cost us approximately £70 per person, and I know that being pricey actually stopped several biking friends from attending. However, as I already said, we hadn't been before, and unless you try these things, then you'll never know whether the cost was worth it. But more on that later. It's been several years since I last bought beer from the bars at rallies. You see, unfortunately the price of a pint at these events has now crept past £5, and when you can buy a 10-pack for £10, well, it's a no-brainer. And by now we've got ourselves into a bit of a routine. After putting up the tent with its inevitable emotional discussion, Carrie would remain to sort out the bedding and interior, while I would ride to the nearest supermarket for the beer run, which in this case was a couple of miles away in Thetford.
The cable for the phone, had unplugged it.
Oh.
For the adapter that goes in that.
Yeah.
So I got the Tesco's and it was the adapter's going. It's probably somewhere around here, but I'm new. Shit.
Now the trip out itself is not just a purely biker event. As well as the multiple bobbers and choppers, there's also a vast array of vintage cars, trucks and vans, mostly from the US. As the name would suggest, the trip out tries to recreate the chilled out vibes from the rockabilly, hippie and new age generation, and this attracts folks who possess an interest in that scene.
There you go. Where do you want to go?
The food's also got really pricey at rallies. Although there was an excellent choice available, from pizza to Indian to the staple rally favourite of burger and chips, in recent times we'd taken to bring our own grub. Not that I don't enjoy a burger, but no matter how good it is, I don't get any pleasure paying over £10 for it. As everyone knows who attends the rallies, when the moon comes up the party really begins, especially when the bands begin. And sadly, this is where the trip out was lacking, with very limited bands and massive gaps between performances. Take Bum in the Mud for example. There are live bands performing from mid-afternoon all the way through to midnight, and often there are two bands performing simultaneously in both the hall and marquees. Now bearing in mind that the Bum in the Mud costs less than half the price of the trip out, where is the money actually going? Now the trip out has showers available. However, speaking to our friends who have been coming for many years, they are only half a dozen or so in a trailer style affair, and in their experience, most times the water was cold as the heating couldn't keep up with the demand. It didn't bother me as I was used to cold squatty washes with a bar of soap and a bucket, but I know Carrie would have preferred a hot shower. But credit where credit's due. The trip out does have an excellent selection of vehicles in its show arena and a marquee for the bike builders to display their absolutely brilliant custom machines, and this really was the highlight of the rally for me. Carrie on the other hand, she really loved looking around the old vintage stalls and shops looking for merchandise and more junk, antiques to take home. Of course, another highlight at the trip out is the traditional pie eating challenge. Table manners are definitely not a prerequisite for entry, and it's dubious whether the winner has managed to swallow more or get more over their face. And while it may seem disgusting or shocking to the outsider, it's all in good taste. Fortunately, it was a clear night on the Saturday, so Carrie, Dolly and I took our poncho and a bag of booze, and as many others were doing, planted ourselves on the hill overlooking the main marquee. We were joined by our friends Lucy and Simon, who had come in their 7.4 litre Chevrolet, which was, in my opinion, one of the finest and well looked after examples of a classic American car on display at the rally. And rather than whine on about the bands or lack of them, we had a really enjoyable evening chilling, drinking and chatting under the stars. And maybe, albeit unknowingly, on the final evening, we'd finally discovered what the trip out was all about. The morning mist cleared and gave way to a pleasant bright day. After a quick breakfast and packing the bikes, we said goodbye to our friends and set out on a much nicer ride home than we had coming up. And as always, the ride back gave me time to reflect on the weekend. Did I enjoy the trip out? Well, yes, despite the obvious downsides, for example the live music and the cost. Yes, it was a good rally, and I definitely recommend you come and experience it for yourself. And one final word on the cost: I can only assume that the vast majority of the ticket price goes towards paying to use the land. And it's a shame this is the case, as I know a lower ticket price would definitely attract many more to attend. But the one thing the trip out doesn't have, and even if they knew what it was, they couldn't replicate it, is the intimacy and comradeship that seems to be present at the other biker rallies I frequent. It's almost impossible to put it into words, but well, real bikers are bikers all year round, and the creases, scuffs and patches on their leathers are testament to their chosen lifestyle. The trip out just didn't have that for me. There seemed to be a lot of folks who dressed up for the weekend. Hey, I have no problem with that, but biking for me has always been and will always be a lifestyle and not a hobby. So would I go back to the trip out? Well, the simple answer is yes, I would. However, as for the ticket price, well, that would get me, most likely, 3 other rallies.